What is going on, Secondhand Talent family? It's your boy Steiner here with another episode of Secondhand Talent. Thank you, as always, to our sponsor, Tenacious Toys, and to Luke Chu for providing the Lo-Fi, our featured toy of the season. But enough of all that. We are here with the incredible linocut artist, Isadora Bullock, on the heels of her sold-out new print, Brighter Now. Isadora, welcome to Secondhand Talent.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah.
Oh, it's genuinely a pleasure. I've been a fan for a long time. My favorite is the Carrion Crow print. And
Really?
yeah, it
I
is.
don't,
We have,
most people don't say that. I mean, I don't get that one as a favorite. So that's why I was like, I'm not surprised, but yeah,
well,
that's cool.
it's a very meaningful song to me, and I've never, to this day, I haven't found a piece that really brought forth the depth of the song in the way that I find in yours, and I've really appreciated it for quite some time. And I got to start with our first question.
Okay.
When I first reached out to you, and said, "Hey, I have a podcast called Secondhand Talent." When you first heard the term, I'm curious to know what came to mind.
Um, yeah, I mean, you know, I, I'm not really sure if I like formed, I kind of was just more curious at first, because I feel like there's a story there. So why don't you tell me?
Well,
Yeah.
I love that question because we get a different answer every time, and I love hearing that there's a story there because that's what we're all about. Our motto is we shine the spotlight on the people who shine the spotlights. We try to highlight all of the myriad facets of the entertainment and live music industry that are no less talented, but often overlooked by the casual fan and the general public. And we believe it's important to platform the stories of all the people who work so hard and really tirelessly and mostly thanklessly for countless hours and days to make sure that the general public has a great time.
Yeah, I mean, I think too, like the secondhand talent definitely speaks to the people that are like the real fans, the people that are really out there and they're making, art or prints or whatever. Basically, like they're in it, and so I think that speaks to everyone because they're coming from that perspective instead of just, hey, I saw this band and I attached this image or this to it or whatever. We're coming like straight from within our own experience of being in the shows.
Yeah, and two of the bands that you focus on a lot, Phish and the Grateful Dead, really embraced, their fan base and that fan culture, and the fans really, especially the artists, have taken on, a life of their own, and it's really cool to have, these two powerhouse bands that really kind of, for the most part, give sort of free reign to fans to create art that the music inspired them, based on the music that inspired them.
Yeah, like for fish, of course, like you're not allowed to use the logo or like the likeness, and it's very hard. It's very hard not to. I'll
Yeah,
say.
that's a no.
Yeah,
um
yeah,
but no, you're right, but the magic of it is that, in my opinion anyway, is that it makes the artist express it in a way that is non-traditional. It's in a way that is not focused on the band. It's focused on the music and the message of the music. And it really, for me anyway, fan art I've always appreciated more than official posters. Not that I don't appreciate the official posters and that art, but seeing the fans express how they feel about the music visually has always been very special to me. And I'm curious, what were your, well, first, I guess, what came first for you? Was it music or was it art?
um, you mean for my life, it was definitely art. So my mom and my dad are artists. Okay, my dad's a painter, photographer. My mom's a graphic designer and painter. So from just the very beginning, they just had piles of art supplies and paper and, just out at all times. So I was doing art my whole life. I always thought I was going to be an artist, and I kind of never swayed from that. Like I sold art as a kid. Like I did a little pop-up festival and was like made like $280 one time at this festival when I was 8 years old. And it was like, it was like this mind-blowing thing. And so yeah, so I've always been an artist, and knew that I wanted to go to school for art and all that. But I've always had a love of music my whole life. And then, but as far as like fish posters, I'd listened to Fish since I don't know about '94, then saw him in '98. So I was like very deep into I need to see as many shows as possible before I started printmaking.
So when was that moment? 98. I mean, talk about a great year to start seeing fish. What was the moment for you when you found that you wanted to meld those two? Art being a lifelong experience, and then, music obviously coming a little bit later.
Yeah, so I'm already when I graduated high school, you get your money for your graduation, and I took that money and did the whole 2000 summer tour. It was my first full tour. I was 17, and I took my graduation money, I bought my tickets, it was like, you know what I'm saying? Like this was, I sold some sprites for $1 and some dollar stickers, and back then, which now you can never do, if you could make $20, it was enough to buy some grilled cheese, get a hotel room with some people. Like if you already had your tickets, you could survive on $20 a day. It was like kind of an amazing time. So I was doing that, and in 2003, I did an intro to printmaking class in college. Okay. And so we did woodcut and linocut. So I think it was a month and a half into the class, we did linocut. And it was just like clicked. I was like, I'm doing this. I'm making a print. I'm going to go sell these on tour and fund my tour. It was like an immediate sort of thing, and I just made, yeah. So that's how it just started. I was like, this is the right way to actually bring that, those two together. Cause you can't just sell a painting, at a show is very, I mean, you could, but yeah.
Well, you gotta feel good about what you're doing, right? Your heart and soul has to be into it in order for it to work in any case, whether it's on lot or as a show print. Like, there needs to be emotion in it. um for the uninitiated, who are our viewers, readers, and listeners, who may not know what those different styles are, would you mind just giving just like a brief description of those three styles and why linocut was the way you decided to go?
Yeah, so traditionally, woodcuts have been around for a long time, hundreds and hundreds of years. Okay. And linocut is a similar thing. You're basically carving out a stamp that is going to be printed in reverse, right? So linocut, it just starts with a smooth surface. And I love woodcut, but the problem with woodcut for me is that if a little splinter of wood or something, that you're working with a natural product, so a piece could come off, mid print or something, or you could carve, and it can be a little more difficult to control the image. So linocut seemed just like it was just like butter. You're carving, and the carving is my favorite part, hands down. That's the best part. I get in my Zen mode and I'm carving, working out the design or printing can be very tricky and a little bit stressful at times because it's like not lining up and you're like, oh no, so that part is always been my favorite. So yeah, linocut. But what I'm doing is a reduction print. So I'm taking one block and then I'm carving away a layer. Then I'm printing 100 yellows. Then I'm carving away more, and then printing, red on top. So every time you carve, you're exposing the layer you just printed. So it destroys itself over the course of the block. So it's you kind of can prove like this is a limited edition. So at the end you have the last layer, so it can never be reprinted again. So it's just a cool process. And I actually have a really cool story about my first fish print. It's like,
Please go
yeah, because
ahead.
this is the moment of like this is it kind of thing. So it was
Yeah.
winter tour 2003, and it was in the Northeast, and it was like blizzard, snow, it was like freezing cold. It was, you know what I mean? It was like a wild tour. So we're up there, and before it, I made my first print, Destiny Unbound. I don't know if you've seen that. It's called The Plunge. It's got Mike and Fishman, and they're in a truck, and it's like going over a cliff.
Oh,
And they're
Yes,
like,
yeah, sure.
you know, yeah.
I didn't even know that was your print. Wow.
That was
Oh,
my first print. That was my first print. It was a one layer print. I did it right when that was like the first one. Okay, so they hadn't played Destiny Unbound in like 16 years or something, and so it was. I go on tour, and I walked around with my hands like red from like the cold, just like try to sell these things for like $10. It was like really difficult, and people were like, they're never gonna play it, like this is like, just basically like yelling that at me, and I'm just like, holding this thing. And so I tried to sell it for I sold a couple, I traded with Ryan Kerrigan for a print, we were just, yeah. So I ended up with a lot of other art. So anyway, so I'm like, I think I sold like 5 or 6 over like 3 days. And so then we're at the show and they play Destiny Unbound, and it's like, oh, this is incredible. I'm just like, whoa. And then I came out and I sold all of them in about 10 minutes after the show. Like just complete, just sell out at $10 each. And I had like 100 of them. And people were literally saying, did you print this at set break? Which is
huh.
just so funny to me. They're like, yeah, it's like they were like, did you design this in the first set and then go print it during separate? And I was like, trying to explain to people that no, like this is just this epic thing that happened. And so then it's like I sold out my first print. I'm hooked. I mean, that was it. It's just like this works. Like this is what that was just so exciting. So
I
yeah, that's
cash
how I got
I
started.
ca I casually told someone it was my 46th show. I was wearing my 46 jersey and they opened with 46 days and they thought that I manifested it. So I can actually kind of somewhat relate to that on like a
Yeah.
fan level. But
Yeah.
I mean, what a feeling to the, forget the fact that it's an unbelievable song, one of my favorites, one of his favorite songs, a bust out, rarely played tune, and happened to be the print that you made. It must have
Yeah.
felt, I mean, serendipitous feels like an understatement.
Yeah, no, it was incredible. I mean, yeah, it was that's the moment though. I mean, that's the exact moment of coming out there and just people were just grabbing them. It was like the prints were just in the wind, just like, you know what I mean? Like it was just yeah. So yeah, so then yeah, that was the start. And
And
yeah,
what
I was in
was
college then. Yeah.
unfortunately, Fish took a hiatus shortly thereafter. Was there what was that impact on you with after having just had this magical moment? All of a sudden, that rug gets pulled. What was
Yeah.
that like?
Well, there still was. I did a bunch of prints. I did in 2004. I did Vegas and Deer Creek, and got to do all that. So I definitely got that. I don't remember how many or anything, but I definitely did some more prints. And then when that happened, see, for me, it was a good thing because I actually went to grad school for art and like did all this stuff during the break. That would have been more difficult and to have done. So yeah, I mean, oops, sorry, that was taking that. So yeah, so I felt like I actually became a nanny. You know, I like went to grad school for art and then was a nanny when the announcement came. And then I quit my nanny job and started renting at a local printmaking studio because I didn't have my own press or anything. I had to rent monthly there and work with other people. And then that's when I came out with I think the Tower Jam, and then I did Hampton '09 for the print for the third act, the Phoenix, the Rising, which Pollux has a phoenix, kind of bird rising. It was kind of the theme. A lot of people kind of tapped into that same
I'm
idea.
very familiar with both of those prints. What did it feel like when the announcement came?
Oh yeah, no, it was the best. And then of course, being there, Fluffhead starting, everyone's crying, you know what I mean? Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of a roundabout way of me of trying to. It is kind of like Destiny Unbound that you had this opportunity to separate yourself. You know, who knows what would have happened had that announcement not come, but
Mhm. Yeah.
the fact that it gave you that space and room to grow as an artist, did you feel that? the art that you were creating upon the reunion was, like, taken up a notch based on what your previous works were?
Oh yeah, yeah. I definitely think so. I was definitely trying to getting more intricate. More layers. But it was, yeah, the excitement of just getting to like quit your day job and go back on tour too. It's like the art made it happen. It's like then now I'm back in my element. Yeah, and it actually feels, there's that hiatus, and I just took a 6 year hiatus. So I just had my own personal hiatus, and I'm back now. So it is kind of like a second one, second one for that, as far as me working in print and stuff.
So, I mentioned the Carrion Crow print earlier. When did you start making Grateful Dead related artwork?
I haven't made that many. I did the GD50, and that was that print. And I actually have designed some prints that I haven't done. You know what I'm saying? So there's still yeah, there's definitely a few ideas that could be in the mix. Yeah, but
Gotcha.
mostly fish. Yeah, yeah.
What prompted your hiatus?
So okay, so 6 years ago, yeah, I had my daughter Iris, and it's like pregnant, and then had a baby, and then COVID, and then now she's in kindergarten. So it's like I'm back at it. Now she's going to school, and I finally have the time, to do it, and yeah, it's good timing for that.
Had you stopped seeing fish during this period, or was it just a hiatus from art?
Yeah, I wanted to. I saw. Let's see. I did like 3 day in 2000. Gosh, 2000. We went to 3 nights of Charleston, and then we took her to the two Wilmington shows. So she got to go to her first shows, and I don't even think we saw anything else. It was really crazy to like only see like 5 or 6 shows in 6 years, because I was doing full tours. So it definitely was a completely different time in my life. Yeah, but hopefully get back into it more.
It's kind of wild because my gap was actually somewhat similar between 2016 and 2021, or after the fall run of 2016. Between then and 2021, I saw three shows. I got curveballed,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like so many of us. And I know you made a print for Curveball, correct? I do remember
Yeah,
the
well,
orb, right?
yeah, well, actually, I made three tiny prints, and the crazy thing about that is I was going to give away all of them. It was like I wasn't even like making a curveball print, and what's crazy is I have hundreds of of these curveball prints that have all different color combinations and all kinds of stuff. I mean, it's like a thick stack. I don't really know what to do with those, but you
Well,
know.
I would definitely like a few. So
Okay, yeah, I will definitely do that.
I caught the Alpharetta 2018 run. That was the only three shows that, and then it was just kind of, just impossible. I wasn't living in the country at the time, and I rarely made it back. And I flew in for Curveball,
Okay,
six
yeah.
thousand miles, and
Wow. Okay.
wound up seeing. I think we drove to Buffalo and went and saw Beyonce and Jay-Z or something like that. It was a really weird weekend. It was a very, very curveball kind of weekend. What was your? I mean, I know my reaction when the announcement came on the
Well,
bunny, that
how far away were you? Is the first question I need to know. How far away were you there, or like traveling there when you found out?
I was walking back to our tent. I we
Okay,
our
so you were set up.
our
Oh
whole
my god,
camp was
that seems way
set
worse to
up
be set up.
on Thursday. We're like, is there
Oh,
going to be a sound check? Are they going to play anything once we got the announcement? All of a sudden, I'm just hearing "taste the turbidity," and like what is that word?
yeah, we were 3 hours away in the car, and
Oh man.
someone called. and said it as like, of course you think it's a joke. You're like, yeah, and, whatever. You know what I mean? Like no one believes it. You're in denial, and then you start sinking in, and it was just like, all right, but everyone had all their stuff. So I have a group of friends that I've been seeing fish with for 25 years. The Uno crew. We're the Uno crew. But yeah, we made a lot of cards, sent them out. They started sending out cards and making those in the 90s. So this is like my people. This is my like crew, that I'm with. Yeah.
I have so many I have so many of those that I've been
Yeah.
gifted over the year. Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah,
Oh,
and a lot of people make cards now. It used to be kind of just the people I know that I knew, but now it's definitely grown. But we've had whole festivals and parties and things outside of Fish. Like we celebrate birthday. Like it's a whole nerdy thing. But so we were going to be all going to Curveball, and so we were like I was like I'm not going home. Like I'm not, like I don't know. So we went to our friend's house, and he had some land, and we all set up an entire thing there, and we basically had our own curveball like festival in the yard. We had made different people had made different installations, like they were going to be at curveball, like not official but just for our campsite. They're really always coming up with some crazy project, and we did that, and we took all the coolers of beer and lined them up in a train. Like there was like 10 coolers of like the best beer that you could ever imagine, and we just had the best time. I mean, it was an incredible time to spend with all your best friends, and even though we were curveballed, like it was the best scenario. So I wouldn't trade that time. I mean, I would trade that time, but you know what I'm saying. Like it was really
uh,
special. Yeah.
I actually know exactly what you're saying. I flew in with that same one of my best friends that I came in with for the Alpharetta shows. We came in together, and just getting that bonding time with him and being able to spend some time, really just together hanging out is not something that we really had the opportunity to do very often. And you're really, my memories of Curveball, even though it didn't happen, are really all positive, besides for the fact that
Mhm.
it didn't happen. You bring up a great point that that it was obviously a missed opportunity with as far as the festival goes, but
Yeah.
it seemed like a lot of people took advantage and made it an opportunity to
Mhm.
really spend some quality time with the people they care about.
Yeah, and Mondegreen was the redo, so all those same people, we all were at Mondegreen together too. So, that was felt like a redemption.
Absolutely. I mean, and I wish I could have been there. I heard it was an amazing time, and I'm hoping to catch the
Yeah.
next fest.
Yeah. That was the first time we'd ever been away from our daughter. It was like, and we went and had 5 days. Yeah. So it was like that was a big deal.
So you're talking about the Uno Club, and
Oh,
off camera you mentioned something there.
yeah. So this right here that I'm drinking some wine out of is the official 1980 Uno card tumbler, which I own a bunch of, and I've given them out to people and stuff like that. So yeah, they're really great. Yeah, I like that you called it a club. I like that because I think I always think of the crew because everyone's got their crews, but like that's elevated. I like the club. Only like club members. You know what
Well,
I
I
mean?
kind of feel like, fish.net is also like the fish.net forum is also kind of a club. And again, talking about the fan base and segmenting off, the fact that the fans banded together to create Mockingbird Foundation, it really is just a beautiful thing, to that it's happening parallel but independent of the band. And I gotta ask, so at the time of this taping, you just sold out of
Hmm.
all of the
Hmm.
variants
Hmm.
of your first print back, and it's on your new site, IsadoraBullockInc.com, I believe. Is that
It's
correct?
dot net.
Isadora
Yeah, it's dot
dot
net.
net.
It is yeah, and yeah, definitely. There's a difference there. There is a complication with my old website, um, and you don't want to go to that one. I'll just tell
Well, we are going to make sure that we say IsadoraBullockInc.net. And you're also in a new studio. So just before we walk around and take a look at the studio, I gotta ask, What was it that prompted you to get back into printmaking?
Yeah, so I was, just going along during COVID. I couldn't go to any studio to print. I felt like it was, it was a time everyone's kind of locked down. And I was like, I've always wanted a home studio. Like that's like the art, that's a dream. I mean, everybody's dream is to be able to walk out your back door, go make art, and I've been renting for my entire career. I don't know if people know that, but like I had been renting and renting, and you're just paying for other people's equipment. And Vandercook presses are really hard to find, so there was only three of them that I even knew, the people that had them, right? So now it's like there's a very elite club. Like, AJ's got a bunch, like, there's only, and Pollock, but it's just like, so I have my own press. I got my own press. I actually have two presses. One I've never used. I know it's like it's my backup press, which is the another ultimate dream. I've got a press that if something goes wrong, it's the same. It's a hand crank press, so I can move the block and finish the edition on my backup press. So this is like the ultimate dream of a printmaker. So yeah, so I started 3 years ago. I started the project, the starting of building the studio. It's taken 3 years to be at this point. So yeah, so it's really good timing. And this is, I don't need to get all into it, but with Hurricane Helene, my husband's business 42 Gallery was completely destroyed. I don't know if you know that, if you're aware of that, but it's a really good.
Wasn't.
Oh, okay, so yeah, he had a glass blowing studio and gallery, and 6,000 square foot right in the River Arts. It was 25 feet underwater, not rebuilding, like can't rebuild, very in debt. It's just like the worst possible thing that we just went through. So I feel so lucky that now it's my turn. I have the studio, I've been building it, and now I'm taking over and really helping our family and able to make prints again. So it's like that's all this culmination here of all of these things, these terrible things happening and trying to rebuild. And so yeah, so there's that. So yes, I'm really extra happy to have a studio. But yeah, so we walk out of my house, which and we built a deck, and then here's the studio. And I don't know, I haven't really walked around with this thing, so um
Let's go. We're gonna figure it out.
okay.
So what
So
are we looking at
yeah.
here?
Okay. Yeah, so this is my new studio. All right. And I'm just panning. And I saw your toys, so I really gotta show you this corner, my nerdy corner over here. Got yeah, check that out. We got I always wanted the hair bantha, like the one with the actual hair from the 97 series. That was like, and look, I kind of have a stormtrooper collection that I've been collecting here. This big one is an 18-inch, and the small guys down here are like 6-inch. So that's how the scale. This thing is like,
Holy.
right? That's yeah.
You've got a whole squadron over there. That's wild.
I know. I even got a little Palpatine over here chilling. He's chilling on the corner. But yeah, so I collect kaiju toys, and I don't even have them. I haven't built the shelf yet. Like here's a there. This is an original Nick DeFabio painting of my favorite kaiju's right here.
Love Nick.
Oh
Great
yeah. Oh
human
my god.
being.
Epic. So yeah, see this guy, and if you see this, if you look up, it's the same guy here at the very top. I don't know if you can see that, but this is this guy. So yeah, so this is the original Nick DeFabio. And then this one, I've got these are that's vintage. I've got some here. I got a bunch of stuff right here. This guy is really cool. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I actually have about 100 kaiju's that are not featured right here. Okay, we got the 24-inch Xenomorph. Yeah, I'm also really into plants, and I have perennial gardens and like have a huge out there. It's nighttime, but so here I got check this out. My mom did this in the 70s. This is a painting of a clothesline of pants. And here's my drying rack, which you can put 400 prints on. Here, his this is his linocut Godzilla. I don't know if you've seen that. This I've got my little look. I've
Wow.
got this. This is where I print. I've got my records. I've got like a whole. I've got like a turntable right here. This is where I stand when I'm printing. My rug. Yeah, yeah. I have about 400 records in the house, like there, too. So my dad did this in the 70s. Okay, so we got my dad here, and this is the press, and then over here, my mom did this in the 70s. Okay, this is Space Monkey. This is like a very famous painting in my group of friends. my our wedding, this was the theme, the intergalactic union, and we had this painting. It was on all of like the decorations and like everything. Our whole wedding was like
Wow.
space themed. So yeah, and this is a Sagas
I
piece,
mean,
an original right here, Sagas. So I see this is where
oh,
oh yeah, it's epic. And that he had a show at 42, the 42 gallery. So yeah, so got my couch. I got my old booth from like it's like from some sort of like I can't remember what he
that's
said.
a
I think it's like
diner
a
booth if I've
yeah, it's
ever
like a
seen
water
one.
yeah,
Wow.
it's like a water park like booth and like was in the food court. Got a Yamabushi over here. Herbie Hancock Yamabushi. Yeah, this is original, and my friend gave me for as a wedding gift. Chris Keller. It's called the honeymoon. Yeah, this is my dad's crystal photography. He grows his own crystals and was doing it since the '80s, and then photographs them through a microscope.
Time out. Time out.
Go
That's a
ahead.
photograph.
Oh yeah, yeah. With a mic, it's a microscope camera attached to a microscope where he grew his own crystals. There's like he has millions of these, and they can all be reproduced up to 2 to 3 feet because it's on a slide. Totally crazy, like insane,
That's
untapped stuff.
so fucking cool.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. I've got an original taste over here. Oh, I love this thing. I haven't figured out where to put it. This is an original poster, right? Look, you can see it's you see it said, it's I gotta tell you something really funny about this. I collect this particular image of Zappa. I have an uncut ticket stub of this, and I have a vinyl of this, and I have a 8x10 of this, all from the same photo shoot with the same pink terry cloth. It's like totally like I'm just obsessed with that whole time. So this is
Trying to lift my jaw back up.
yeah, I got my tire jam in that here, the bike
At
day here too.
well,
Yeah.
but also just real quick at the time of this taping. I
Yeah.
mean, first of all,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna. I've turned my camera previously in other episodes, but right over there,
Yeah.
uh, is a wall of books and records and toys, and right there is my record player. And right there is a piece by my wife's grandfather and my grandfather's flag, and it's so fascinating for me to see another studio space with just
Oh yeah.
such personal affect, and to have your parents in there with you. I mean,
I
that
know.
must be such an incredible feeling.
Well, I have a picture I'll send you. I print in the middle. So I'm standing at this press right here. I stand here in the middle and I'm in between my dad and my mom. So it's kind of sweet. But
That's beautiful.
yeah. Well, do you want me to turn back around or do you want
Well,
to
real
keep
quick
talking?
before you do,
Yeah.
I saw a stack of something over there.
Oh yeah.
I was wondering if
Oh yeah.
maybe we could give
Hmm.
our viewers, folks, if you're just listening or reading, go ahead and subscribe on YouTube and watch the videos. But right there
This is a
is the new
variant.
print
Yeah.
by the variants are gorgeous, the key lines are gorgeous, the print itself is beautiful. It just really, to me, truly captures the essence of the live aspect of it.
There's a bunch of here, let me see. See, here's just there's just a stack of tower gems, just hanging out. I was trying to see if I could drop a couple of them. I was trying to find some of those to drop, but like here's a rare varia that I don't think anyone's seen. I had so much fun printing this print. So what I did was there's a bunch of secret one of ones, okay? Because I just couldn't help myself because I was reprinting blue and I would say, oh, throw it on here. So I'm telling you, I have like 20 one of ones that are just completely all different. And I just had a blast. Like seriously, I just had so much fun because I could play with the colors. I could make my own colors. I could throw them on, So I just like kept printing. So so
All
yeah,
that
well,
and
yeah,
all that and Zappa to boot. Wow.
yeah, yeah. That's the first time I've shown anyone my new studio. I mean, I showed a picture of the press and a little bit on the website, but like I want to do a tour where I'm in my house. Like I go in my front door and then I walk out the deck and look at the garden and then like walk into my studio. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
When you were going through the studio and talking about it, it really reminded me of I guess, well, at the time of this taping, we don't know when the episode is going to air, but I
Mhm.
interviewed Christopher Thorne, who's a founding member of Blind Melon, and he currently founded and operates Fireside Sound Studios in in Joshua Tree, and he I thought it was fascinating to see the walkthrough because what he did was he had 35 acres. And they built a house and other little guest houses and the studios all on this big space, and it's all like everybody's together and doing this, in process, and like the house is not far from the recording studio and everything's kind of, one. And you were mentioning, ultimately, shooting a video from the house going to the studio, and I just think that's it's so wonderful to not be just surrounded by family and friends through their art in the studio, but to be literally next to your family as you're working. That's incredible.
Yeah, and also my daughter who's about to turn 6, so that booth that I showed you several times during my printing, that was for her. She was making art at the booth while I was working. Like, so it's just, this is like, you know what I'm saying? She makes art every day. Like, she wants to be a singer. She's like really into singing and music, and she takes music classes and like plays on her keyboard and draw. It's just, yeah, it's just exactly what you want. So yeah, it was special to share. She'd never seen me make art at this way. So that's the, she's like, wow, look, mommy's doing this. It's like she had no idea, you know what I mean? Like, so it was really cool.
So curious, why growing brighter?
Yeah, just the light is growing brighter now, you know.
Well,
I
yeah, but
mean,
was
but you
there
mean the
was
print.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, we're
No,
just
no,
pretty,
like why? Well, because
yeah.
I think about, light, and there's so many fish lyrics that come to mind. Was there some special significance to that song, or to that specific lyric?
Yeah, I mean, so I did my first light print, and well, actually, you know what? I did one in 2009, a Philly light print, which was a little bit different. But the one in this kind of format I did in 2013. I don't know. And it's called Light. Okay, so I don't that one. That's kind of the first one in the series, and this is the second one in that series. And that last light print. Oh yeah.
So the light is growing brighter. Okay, I'm making connections in my head. Okay.
Yeah, and the really cool thing about the last light print, yeah, Chris Grotto, a bunch of fans got together and framed that print and gave it to him. The last light print.
Wow.
And he has like he really wanted number 13, and they like traded from somebody who had number 13 and like got his number and then framed it and then give it to him. So that was just really cool because I made the print, but all these fans got together to gift that to him. And I actually have a tube full of prints from this one, but I have to figure out a way in. I don't know how to really get them to him, but I have prints.
You
Wait.
know, that's first of all, I mean, again, it speaks to the community, but raising each other up and building up around each other. That's a really beautiful thing. But also, you mentioned, if I recall correctly, in the post about the print, you specifically mentioned that it was inspired by what Chris does with the lights in the show. And I guess, how does it feel knowing that he's got this print of yours, and that he's you know wanted his number? Like, I mean, I know what that's like as a collector.
Mhm.
I mean, that's a pretty special thing. It's pretty
Yeah.
wonderful.
Well, it started. I can't remember. I think it was. Gosh, it was must have been on Twitter or something. It was posted, and he like smiley face, like oh, I should take credit, or he like made some comment on the print originally that started the whole thing. Like he commented that yeah, something about that, and that started. But yeah, no, it's super honor. And I always wonder if fish like if they what images of mine they've seen, because it's just been go. You would think like they just even them seeing one. I've gifted Mike several prints in person, Just that because
Wow.
it's you know how he has the shows where he would stay and like sign stuff and he's like really like into the crowd. So yeah, I know that he has the Colorado Buzz and the Honeycomb print, and he has a portrait I did of him, which I got my cease and desist order about, and I haven't done the likeness since. But he has one of those. It's the Take Me Out cactus Mike print. That was from 2010 or something. So I have not used Fish's likeness in any way since 2010. But yeah, so yeah.
Mike is a real one at his shows. I remember in, oh gosh, 2013 or 2014, I think around then, seeing MGB come through Chicago, and he, it was at Park West, I think, and he came out to hang out with Scott and all the guys. Uh, I had a copy of his book with me,
Yeah, I have a first edition. So yeah, I know it well.
and I asked him, I asked him to sign it, and he just looked at me and went, "Huh, I haven't seen this in a while." And then and we wound up having a beautiful conversation, and they came through last year, and they all remembered me. And I got to hang out with the crew and the band after the show at Talia Hall, and it was just, you know, it's so wonderful when the people who you make art that inspire the people who inspire you to make that art are so receptive to it and and appreciate it for what it is. I mean, I just think that's so amazing.
Yeah, yeah, I've definitely loved trading with other artists. I used to trade all the time, but I just have stacks, of every lot artist, like all the prints. I mean, I can't even tell you. I flat like huge flat files just full of traded lot art. So that's always fun to just
I
get other
mean,
people's work.
I'll bet part of, I mean, one of the, I think the quintessential, part of the fabric of the scene is being on lot art. I mean, it's kind of transitioning now into fan art and more, a little bit more of an organized experience in addition to lot. I'm not going to give an opinion on that. But it is that was, I mean, my first shows being at Alpine, that was one of the most magical things, is meeting folks like Jack Firestone and Matt and all these wonderful people who had all this amazing art, and they were just out there hanging out and talking to people, and all I knew about art was that, like, there's prints and galleries, and that the artists are the artists, and to be in a part of a community where the artists are truly a part of the community. I think that that's pretty self-evident in the fact that just that the print sold out, like, in all the variants. I think that that's proof in the pudding right there.
And all the variants sold out first, and they sold out from rare by rarity. So it's very telling that that's what people are going to go for first. And so I was like, at one point I was like, I'm just keep making these because I can't not make them. You know what I mean? It's like I got the block and I got all these colors, and like I just was like, I yeah. So at first I was like, is this too many variants? I'm like, well, you know, just put them out there,
We'll
and then
find out.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So at Alpine '09. I, that was a crazy day. You probably didn't get the Pollock. You probably weren't like. I don't know if you got the Pollock print for that. I mean,
I
it
I
was a crazy time.
do. I can I show you the print that
Oh,
I
do you
have
have it?
from that show?
Oh, yeah.
Not the Pollock, but I
Oh,
do
okay.
have. Hold on, one sec. Mario, forgive me for stepping away from the camera. Um, my producer.
I asked him to. I made it. I made him do it.
Genuinely wondering. I to this day I don't.
Um, Here, move it over a little bit. We'll see. I can only see like a little bit of it. Huh? Yeah. Is it look like? Is it a screen print or Hellman Valley?
It looks like
Huh.
either a screen pin or a block.
Well, so look at the signatures. A B. I don't know. I can't really read it. I don't know. You should be able to figure that out, though. We now we got a mystery in our hands. We'll definitely figure that out.
We gotta. It's one way or another. This mystery's got to give.
So
But
at the
that's
Alpine, yeah, I'll go. I was gonna say at the Alpine show, I got there early because I was trying. I wanted to go in line to get the Pollock, okay, and they closed the doors. And the Alpine's this big place. Just so you know, I had a fever. I had a fever during this. Okay, I had a fever, and we went around the back of Alpine and parked the car, and I ran like 2 miles with a fever, like to the merch stand through a back entrance, okay, and was like 10th in line to get the Pollock prints. And it was just like there was only like 30 people there. That's why it was so hard to get, is because there was 30 people. Of course, there was that one guy who's getting like 30 tubes or 40 tubes, and he was like changing hats and like disguises and like going through the line. I'm just saying. So I was there, and but yeah, it was like, but who you had to like basically sneak into the venue to get that print. So that made it all more rare, probably, and harder for other people to get. So
yeah.
anyway,
It's one of those prints that, as much as I love it and it's my first shows, part of and this is, I think this is one of the reasons I love fan art so much, is because, as great as the art is that folks like Jim and David, Welker and those guys create for Fish, it gets snapped up. It's hard to get. It goes
yeah.
immediately. And I mean, we don't even need to go into the secondary market, but
Mhm.
it's an opportunity for fans like myself to get a memento from the show that truly means something. It's not just, so my first birthday show in Jones Beach, I got the show print, but my second birthday show, which was my at Alpine Valley, actually, I got to spend my birthday show and my 50th show at the place where I saw my first. The print that I chose to get was from my buddy Scotty Radford, because it meant more to me to have a birthday memento created by a friend
Oh
than
yeah.
it did to have the official print.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah. You're lucky to get birthday shows. I've never had a birthday show. Um, they
It
haven't
took
played my
13 and a
birthday.
half years. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm September 9th, which interestingly enough is 9/9. I don't know if you know this. I recently found out that it is the most common birthday in the country. Is 9/9 because it's 9 months after Christmas and New Year's.
Ah,
Right? Yeah. And I was like, wow, it's like, and I'm telling you, I was like, I have the most common birthday of the entire country. That was like a funny thing to like realize. Um, but yeah, so they played in 2000 Fall Tour is the last time they played 9/9, and I was like in college, like couldn't take off any more shows or something. But yeah, so I've never had one. So I always have like there's summer birthdays or you get one every year. I'm always like, oh yeah, it's your birthday again. I'm just like, yeah, that's
you
lucky.
know,
You know.
it is incredibly lucky, and I'm incredibly grateful for the opportunities. Conversely, I've never been to a New Year's show. I got curveballed out of a festival, never been to a festival, and I've never been to a
Um,
Halloween run. Um,
yeah, we'll have to make that happen. You know.
yeah, I'm hoping that it happens in the near future. It's, there's always a yin and a yang to it. But a birthday show, it's incredibly special. I, the mindset I went into it with, because I think we all go like, oh, I want to hear this, I want to hear that. Da, da, da. I went in. I don't think they played anything that I had thought of prior to the show, but they played every song I didn't know I needed to hear,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and I
That's
feel
just
like,
really special.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I mean, that's just kind of how it is, and I mean, it's really amazing to borrow the names of your prints. It's amazing to see the light growing brighter as the band continues to, plow ahead. And I can't wait for summer tour. And it's so amazing to, after so many years, still have that same excitement and that same drive, not just to see the band, but getting back to the beginning of our conversation, being with our friends, being with our
Mhm.
people who inspire us just as much as the music does.
Yeah, and this year, I can't say 100%, but pretty sure we're going to be at New Year's, which is just really exciting because my sister just moved to Park Slope. Like, so I have a free place to stay. So I'm like, and she just moved there. So it's like, I'm like, this is just like, yeah, I got to take advantage here. you know? Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Um,
trying to think of what would happen if I asked my sister to stay for the New Year's run, and I don't think I would get the same
I
reception.
mean, she's been to a couple. She went to. I took her. I'm from Alabama. I'm from Tuscaloosa. So when they played Tuscaloosa, She went to a show, and I think my mom's been to. She went to a Birmingham show and the Tuscaloosa show. So I've gotten a little bit of family there. Just you know, but
The 2018 run was one of the most special for me, that Alpharetta run, because I was with my brother Ben, and that was the only Fish shows, or rather, we may have seen them together once, I think at Deer Creek over a decade ago. But
yeah.
to go to a full run with him and travel and just be on the road with my brother and one of my best friends was really just, it adds so many layers to the magic. And then the weekend ends with the "You Sexy Thing" reprise, and it was just like, just magical. And it's amazing to see that, like, that the circle remains unbroken, and it just keeps moving, and that folks who have paused for a moment like yourself are coming back, and coming back with force. And it's wonderful to see.
I gotta do a huge shout out to my husband Yuri because he did all of my social media marketing videos, photography, everything. He's like my biggest fan. Like we work together to get this out, and he'll be there shipping with me and everything. And like he did that for the gallery. And so since he doesn't have that, outlet, he used to plan these huge shows for the gallery. I'm getting basically like a one-on-one, like, marketing campaign for my print, which is just epic. That used to be for an entire show of like 200 glass artists, so I'm getting like the most amazing stuff. And I'm just saying, he's the most supportive, best thing ever. I could go on forever, but I just wanted to say that he's like the one that's like he had these ideas for these slow-mo teaser shots and all that stuff, yeah.
And
So
and folks, if you're not already, all of Isadora's social media links are going to be in the description here, so please do go check them out, because I gotta say, those videos are so cool. Watching
yeah,
the
yeah.
press operate layer by layer. And I do want to, before we end off, you mentioned something in one of your posts that I thought was really intriguing. Um, and you alluded to it a little bit earlier in the conversation, but the feeling of the layers being added and watching the picture come into form, because the linocut process is in stages, as you mentioned, and the block will only be used once because it
Mhm.
degrades with each press. I mean, is it also that sense of growing brighter as you see the art truly come to life?
Yeah, and and not that I'm sure that happens with every linocut artist. You're always kind of like, ooh, like you're surprised by each layer. The What I'm doing that is a little bit different is I'm basically I'm taking an image, which I collaborated with Scott Harris on the image, which I want to shout out to Scott Harris. He's amazing. And yeah, and I'm sending him like a suite of prints that he's going to be really really happy with. for his work here. But and I hope to really continue that relationship. Like I've got so many ideas. Like we've already been talking about another, collaboration. So but yeah, so what I'm doing that's really different is I'm taking that source photo and then I'm drawing a pattern, right? That's like my thing. I take a pattern and I take the image and I'm basically overlaying them on the block and I don't exactly know what's going to happen. And some linocut artists, they're doing a drawing and then they're really kind of, they know where it's headed. You know what I mean? They're carving each layer. My process is a little more like, okay, what do I want to do here? Like, and that's the part that I love the most is like, here I've got these things. They're basically like this. And what do you want to do? Do you want to go this way or that way? And there is a really in the moment sort of thing. And I am sometimes surprised. And Yuri's always really shocked. I say he's all like pulling up. He's like, what? And I see that insight, and it's really hard to see that until the final layer. But in my mind, I'm kind of I see it.
Yeah, and in my mind, like being kind of built off of the theme of Kuroda's lights, and the way that Chris kind of jams with the band, with his lights. It almost sounds kind of like that kind of a process, that it's like it's an art jam. Like, it's who knows where it's going to go. We kind of have an idea, a loose structure, but unrefined, in the best sense of the term.
And we had a lot of fun, like coming up with titles for these, like because I did that dark red variant. It's called Lucy Took a Walk, and it's like if you're a fan and you know that the red lights are coming out, and that dark evil fish, and so that was just so fun. And then like the green variant, outside on my lawn, because a lawn boy, they're gonna go green, and it's just that's all coming from just like a super fan that's been standing there, like in the lights, and so I'm really I was that was really a fun twist to kind of direct each variant to a different song based on the colors that I was feeling, with that.
Well, I think that's special too for the fans and collectors of it, because I have a special affinity towards certain songs, as I'm sure we all do, and to be able to kind of redirect, like, yes, the lyric is from Light, but to be able to allude to all these other songs, that the kind of, like, as you said, like, if you know, it allows for collectors or people who are specifically connected to a song to see something different in the art, and another reason to grab a hold of it. And I think that's really special.
Yeah. Yeah. That was definitely fun. I hope to do more of that. Yeah. Hmm.
So at the time of this taping, it's a little bit before the episode is going to air. So we're not going to talk about upcoming projects. But Isadora, thank you so much for being a part of the show, having this conversation with me. I learned a lot. I hope our listeners, readers, and viewers learned a lot. I hope they like and subscribe. And most importantly, check out all of the links in the description and the bio of this episode to check out all of Isadora's material. Um, Isadora, thank you so much for being on Secondhand Talent. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And like, I feel like we just met, it's like, we're like really meeting here. And so it was really nice to meet you too, and be on the show. So I really appreciate it. And just having an interest and reaching out to me, like I was honored to do it.
Oh, sincerely my pleasure. Folks, this has been an interview with Isadora Bullock. I am Steiner. This is Secondhand Talent. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you for another episode next Wednesday. And that's a podcast. There we go. We did it.